Hey there everyone, meteorologist Jim Dickey here in the ABC 7 Hurricane Center with another edition of Tracking the Tropics. It's Friday, July 12th. Of course, our focus remains on the Gulf of Mexico as we have the second named storm of 2019 now, Tropical Storm Barry, swirling its way towards the coast. And the only other area, keeping an eye on, I have it marked by that dashed line there in the far deep eastern tropical Atlantic. That's a tropical wave, meaning just an open wave of low pressure, but to keep an eye on that. The NHC has a 20% chance development with this as we go through the next couple days, so a low chance. The conditions, all right, wind shear pretty low, and not much in the way of dry air with it right now. So yeah, it could try to spin up between now and Saturday. Once we get to Sunday and beyond, and this tries to work its way towards the Leeward Islands, it's going to hit some shear. Anything that it has tried to come together at that point in time will likely be torn apart. All the same, something to watch. These are the spaghetti plots. Remember, each individual line, different model forecast. Everything shows it staying fairly far to the south and moving to the due west. Now, what this does not show is the intensity, any organization with this. In all likelihood, this is an open wave the whole way through, so just a cluster of thunderstorms. But I show you this because at least half of them keep this very far south, far enough south that there would also be land interactions coming into play with South America. So bottom line, this doesn't look to be something to worry yourselves with just yet. I'll be watching it, but no real worries out of that at this point in time. Doesn't look to be any type of significant threat to any land areas. And then the other side of things, something that will be threatening land areas as early as tonight is Tropical Storm Barry. So here we go. This is the 8 a.m. advisory from the NHC. Winds 50 miles per hour. That's up a little bit from where we were this time yesterday. Not all that much. Not to see why. Just looking at the satellite presentation, it continues to look less than ideal as far as what a healthy or developing tropical cyclone looks like on satellite. It is moving to the west-northwest now, so that northerly component that is to the motion has started, and that's that forecast turn that will continue bringing it on land tonight, tomorrow morning in Louisiana. So again, take a look at the satellite. So all along with this, since it's been named, the thunderstorm activity has been displaced off to the south, and we'll talk about why in just a second. But I do want to note, I have the center, or at least the approximate center, circled here. And the thunderstorm activity off to the south and southeast, that's where the strongest winds are, you can see just in the satellite, those thunderstorm clouds, those tall, cold cloud tops building. That's where the winds are strongest. We're talking 60, 65 knot winds at flight level. That's where we're getting that 50 mile per hour wind estimate at the surface. Also note, in the last couple frames, I'll go ahead and loop this once again for you. In the last couple frames, you see that thunderstorm activity coming closer to the center. In a healthy tropical cyclone or a strengthening, developing tropical cyclone, you want to see that thunderstorm activity sitting right over the low-level center. It's a sign this is becoming vertically stacked. That's the structure a tropical cyclone wants to form to be able to intensify, and it's looking like there's, a chance this could be making a run at some intensification going forward. Now we switch over and look at the water vapor satellite because I want to show you what has been the hindering factors on this through the past 24 hours. So those red arrows I have, strong northerly wind shear, that was really doing a number on Barry throughout the day yesterday. Kept all that thunderstorm activity suppressed well to the south. Well, now it's moving out of that, and you can sort of see the general flow, especially on the western side, now moving from south to north. It's getting out of that shear. It's in a pocket of much lower wind shear now, so that's something on the side of that would help it to try to strengthen. And then also, and this is often the case with slow-moving tropical systems that are close to land, it's tapping into some drier air. That's the yellow you see off to the north. It's dragging in some continental dry air from the continental United States, and that has also helped to suppress the thunderstorm activity on the northern side, and that doesn't really show signs of waning. All the same, if it can wrap thunderstorm activity around the center, keep that dry air out from now until landfall, then strengthening would occur, and that's what the official forecast calls for, and I think this is pretty in line with what is going to go on here. So this is now into early tomorrow morning, 2 a.m. Saturday, nearing landfall, if not unsure, in the southern parishes of Louisiana. 70 miles per hour. That's right on the edge of hurricane strength. This could still very well be a Category 1 hurricane at landfall. and then tracking further inland from there. It's not going to matter all that much whether this becomes a Category 1 hurricane or stays a strong tropical storm, because the winds are not going to be the primary impact maker, damage producer, threat from this storm. This is our one in-house model showing you winds in the vicinity of 50 to 60 miles per hour at times. So there we are by early tomorrow morning as the storm is likely coming on shore. You see the center where the winds are swirling around would be on shore at that point in time. And yes, sustained winds, tropical storm force for sure. We could get some gusts up towards 60, 70 miles per hour. Model showing that the red area, that's your best chance to see those hurricane force, at least wind gusts. And that does include the New Orleans area. And then it tracks further to the north from there. Also of note the direction of the winds. Even as it's coming on shore, on the eastern side, we have very strong onshore winds. I'll loop back through this again. So that means, yeah, storm surge comes into play too. There are storm surge warnings out for many of the southern parishes of Louisiana as that onshore wind works its way in during landfall. But again, as I've been telling you all along with this storm, the primary threat is flooding, inland flooding from rainfall. So this is, again, our one model. So just one model forecast. Don't sort of take this to the bank and assume this is exactly what's going to happen, but note that white area, that's on the eastern side of Barry. Generally speaking, tropical systems on their eastern side, that's where the rain tends to be heaviest, and that's where we're going to see some spots picking up 10 to 20 inches of rain, if not more than that. Now, the exact placement of that band of heavy rainfall, not exactly set in stone yet, but that's where the worst of the flooding is going to be. All the same, all that water has to then collect in the rivers and run down through the Mississippi. So flooding, and in particular flash flooding, more or less likely at this point in southeastern Louisiana as we go through Friday. This is through Sunday morning. This is from the Weather Prediction Center, a branch of NOAA, and this is their highest threat level for flash flooding. It means there's a 50-50 shot that the rain exceeds what's called flash flood guidance, so the amount of rainfall you need in a certain period of time to produce flash flooding. So that all builds up to it's likely in both Baton Rouge, New Orleans, southeastern Louisiana in general through Sunday. So life-threatening flooding, not out of the question here, something we'll be watching for closely. And again, that's the highest threat from Barry as it comes on shore. There's a threat for severe weather, not a terrible wind concern from this, likely to be some power outages as there almost always is with the landfalling tropical system. But I do think hurricane force winds at this point in time, unless this really ramps up in intensity before landfall, I think hurricane force winds going to be hard to come by. And then yes, the storm surge concern as well. So again, landfall occurs tonight into early Saturday morning. It heads further north from there. And otherwise, that's really the only area of true concern right now in the Atlantic. So again, to wrap this up, landfall tonight into Saturday. Yeah, flooding. That's the main threat with this storm as it comes on shore with that very heavy rainfall. And then we're also watching that wave in the Atlantic, which again only has a low chance to come together. Even then, it doesn't look to threaten any land areas. So now that we're getting into more of the heart of the hurricane season, I'll be trying to do these videos at least once a week, if not more, as the situation, such as this week, as it merits. So I'll be back next week with a check, and hopefully at that point in time, Barry is no more. Until then, meteorologist Jim Dickey. Have a great weekend.